Hi y'all, I have gotten so many questions about the name of the boat. So many of y'all want to know where the name of the boat came from. So today's video is about just that, the name of the boat, Zoe Grace. Hi y'all, thanks so much for stopping back by. If we haven't met before, then welcome. My name is Lori Livers. I am a real estate investor who was able to leave the 9-to-5 grind behind in just under 3 years by investing in single-family rental properties. And one of the greatest joys that those single-family properties have allowed us is to be able to enjoy this boat, our boat, Zoe Grace. So let's start right at the very beginning. Years and years and years and years ago, I wanted a puppy. My brother had the cutest chocolate lab puppy. His name was Kona. He had a little ridge down the front of his face. He had bright green eyes and the chocolatey brown fur that a chocolate lab would have. And he was the absolute cutest puppy I had ever seen in my life. And I wanted a puppy. So I had asked my brother a couple of times to give me his puppy. My brother was young, he was a bachelor at the time. He was working all the time and gone and traveling and doing a lot of things, and I was convinced he wasn't spending enough time with Kona. So I asked him to give me Kona. After a few times of asking him to give me his dog, he finally got irritated with me and told me, stop asking for my damn dog. If you want a puppy, go get your own puppy. So I really started talking to my husband about getting a puppy, and I wanted a chocolate lab. And my husband was absolutely against the idea. He had had pets before, and he knew how heartbreaking it could be to lose them, and he was not excited about the idea of getting into that situation again. So he was really not keen on the idea of getting a puppy. Months and months and months and months go by, and I keep pushing for, I want a puppy, I want a chocolate lab puppy, I want a chocolate lab puppy. And eventually my husband agrees that we should get a puppy, but I had to agree to just one. I could have a puppy, but I could only have one puppy, so I needed to make sure I picked the right one from the very get-go, because it was my only shot. So one day we found the cutest little baby girl puppy, the cutest little baby girl chocolate lab, and we brought her home and we named her Zoe Grace. Now let me tell you about that first year with Miss Zoe Grace. She was a handful. I was still working full-time outside of the house. My husband was also working full-time outside of the house. And so she spent several hours a day alone until the kids would come home from school. But she was alone in the house at least probably 7.5, maybe even 8 hours a day, every day. And she didn't like it. And I don't blame her. But she was such a handful because she was so mischievous. She was very playful, but she really challenged me to be the alpha female of the house. I thought I was the alpha female of the house, but she thought she was the alpha female of the house too. And so we butted heads quite a bit for the whole first year that she was part of the family. Now my solution to this was to get another puppy. I thought if she had a brother or a sister to play with all day, that she would have some place to put that energy and she would have a happier quality of life. And so even though I had agreed to only the one puppy with my husband, I started talking to him about the possibility of getting a second dog. Not only was he not interested, he was not having it, he didn't even want to consider it. He told me, you agreed to one dog, we have one dog, we love her very much, and that's that. So at least a good year had gone by since my husband had squashed the second dog conversation. And Zoe was still being really, really mischievous, and she was still spending 6-7 hours a day alone in the house. And in that same amount of time, my brother had met his wife, got married, had a baby, and had another one on the way. So my brother and his wife decided that with a toddler and a newborn in their house that wasn't very big to start with, they just didn't have the room for the full-grown chocolate lab that they had now. Remember that puppy I'd absolutely fallen in love with? Well, he was all grown up and he was taking up a lot of room. So my brother calls me one day and asked me if I could take his dog. The same dog that years later he had told me, stop trying to take my dog. You can't have him. Well, it was my chance. It was my chance to get him, and I was not about to miss out on it. I go and I talk to my husband, and my husband says, no, you agreed to one dog. How many times do we have to have this conversation? We have Zoe Grace and we love her, and she is a whole house full. We're not getting another dog. So I called my brother back and I said, I'm gonna need a couple of days. Give me some time to work this out. So it took some convincing, but I did convince my husband that we could get the second dog. And so now we had Zoe Grace and her brother, Kona. Zoe was so excited to have a brother she could play with, and Kona was so happy to have a sister that he could play with. Our family was complete. So during this time that we were just living our life and playing with our fur babies every day and traveling, we had an open bow rider boat. We didn't name that boat because we wanted to save the name for this boat. Even though this was more than 15 years ago, we already knew that we were going to get a boat like this one day. And it was really, really important to us that we saved that special name, Zoe Grace, for this boat. Now, unfortunately, Zoe and Kona both have passed away. Kona passed away shortly after his 16th birthday, and Zoe passed away just before her 13th birthday. And it feels so weird to talk about loving them in the past tense. I don't ever say I loved them. Even though I loved them, but I still love them. I still love them every single day. And so it can be kind of tough to talk about. Kona was my very best friend, and he was the chocolate lab puppy that I fell in love with at first sight. And Zoe was our baby girl, and we loved her just as much. The memories of them playing and running and being such a huge part of our family are so very special to us, and that's why it is so special to walk up to this boat and see our little remembrance tribute to them every time we step on it. We saved her name for this boat because we wanted it to be special, and it is. It is very special to us. And I'm not going to cry because I miss my babies. I am going to be happy because I had all those years with them. So that's the story. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. So that is the story of how our boat, Zoe Grace, got her name, Zoe Grace. And now when you look at the name and you see the little K in the heart of Zoe Grace, that's for her brother Kona, because Kona was... Thanks so much for hanging out for a few minutes and letting me tell you all about my little fur babies that are so incredibly special to me. Next week, we are leaving on a long-range trip, taking a little trip down the Texas Gulf Coast. And I want to take you all along and share with you the planning and the trip and how all that goes. Hope you want to subscribe to the channel and come on that trip with us. There's not a lot of videos out there about boating on the Texas Gulf Coast, and we'll get into that too. But until I see you next time, bye y'all.